Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Training Tuesdays. Let's get started. It is good to be back after 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, we discussed detention billing, and that was a fantastic session. We did record that and put that on our YouTube channel, so I wanted to bring that up first. And I also wanted to thank everyone for continuing to support our efforts. You are our partners, our customers. So Training Tuesdays is all about you. We hope that these 1-hour sessions have improved your level of understanding on Insight. And also we've brought in this group of trainings. We've brought in some analytical discussions. We brought in our customer experience team. We've still done, of course, the functional trainings that we normally do that we did back in the summer, the late summer, early fall. But we've added some different style to these Training Tuesday sessions. So we hope that you've enjoyed those. And also that you have learned how to use Insight a little bit better and to give you some more confidence in using that. So we're going to use some PowerPoint slides today. We're going to do some interaction in Insight, but today's a little different also in that we're doing another panel. This time we are utilizing the fantastic customer success team, which I am proud to be a part of. All of the team members are on today, and they're going to give presentations on different types of pieces of information. So today we're going to talk about customer best practices. We have the privilege of working with many of you on a day-to-day basis. As customer success managers, we get to talk to you about many different things, you know, from what's working, what's not, all kinds of things. We get to know you all pretty personally too. So it's a pretty interesting relationship to have with a customer success manager. Like I said, we get the privilege of working with our customers one-on-one on the daily. And it's our privilege to be able to do so. So what we do, we have years of experience. You know, this experienced team has been together for over 5 years. I've had the privilege of being on this team for 6 years and been able to work with many customers. And my colleagues are on the phone call. We have Harry Singleton, we have Jim Lewis, and Benjamin O. Our manager, Ira Stern, is also on the call. So what we're each going to do is bring some of our success to this call, and we're going to talk about some of our customer best practices in different areas. We will be, like I mentioned, we will be utilizing Insight, excuse me, to talk about some different parts of Insight and you know how our customers are utilizing. Again, we're going to use some slides today as well to make sure that we can show some. Harry's going to use some slides to talk about inventory management. I'm going to use Insight to talk about analyzing and finding data. Jim will be talking about overall account setup, and Ben is going to talk about where do you go when you need help? What do we do? At the end of the day, success manager can't reach her. Customer care may not. May have a little bit of a wait. Rarely happens, but sometimes it does. Where can I go to get some assistance on my own? And how can I train myself, right? So we've been creating these videos in hopes that you will go to the SkyBits YouTube channel. I am the biggest promoter of the SkyBits YouTube channel. I will take that title. I recommend it to all of my customers. I ask my customers to go there not only to watch these videos, but also to go and learn about the industry, right? Our teams, our sales team, our marketing team, our customer experience team, we all have put out videos and learning videos, informational videos, really sometimes just some chat videos about the industry. And we put those all on the YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube, go to the SkyBits page. Our little logo is there next to SkyBits. You can, see some different types of videos that we have on there. Ben's going to go into it a little bit more, but I always want to talk about going there, hitting the subscribe button, and then watching some videos. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. I'm probably going to talk about it again because, again, I love promoting that. And then we do have our every week, every 2 weeks now, we have our housekeeping items before we dive in. So everyone is muted when you come into the meeting. If you've muted yourself and you want to speak later, we will have time at the end for you to ask questions. You're going to have to unmute yourself. So don't bother muting. You don't have to. We'll do that for you. Again, we've factored time in for Q&A. You can also type questions directly in the chat into the question section. We will answer them as best as we can during the session if you have any questions on what's being presented, or you can wait until the end and ask out loud. And as I had mentioned, all sessions are being recorded and will be available for playback via the SkyBits YouTube channel. So, as I had mentioned, a little bit different format today, but informative nonetheless. The first thing we're going to get into, and I'm going to, as we get into the section, have the customer success manager please just, introduce yourself. Everyone on this call has presented, so we're all as important as the next guy, and we want to make sure that everyone acknowledges and says who they are, how they been with SkyBits, and get into their topic. So the first topic, I'm just going to pull up Insight right here. The first topic that we're going to get into, Jim Lewis is going to talk to us about his customers' best practices regarding the overall account setup. There are a few different nuances he's going to get into, and I will shut up now and let Jim start his presentation.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate the introduction. My name is Jim Lewis. I'm a customer success manager at SkyBits. I've been with SkyBits a little over a year and a half now. And my background before joining SkyBits was primarily in product and project management. But what I've found is that really no matter what the industry, it's all about providing meaningful data to customers. I'm very happy to be part of SkyBits and really enjoy working with all of our customers, and most importantly, being part of a company where we are providing actionable data every day for our customers. So that's the introduction on myself, and as Sarah mentioned, what I'm going to cover here are basically the best practices on setting up your account and recommendations that we have to properly utilize everything that we provide here. So the first thing I'm going to guide you to with the help of Sarah is our preferences under managed settings. And you can go ahead and select user preferences. And from here, what you can do is you can set up your landing page. And if you see at the very top where the cursor is, there's Insight Start. And these are basically your options for your landing page. Now, what we recommend is utilizing Asset View. And it's our newest feature. It came out, I guess actually right before I, had joined SkyBits in the summer of 2019. But it has some very nice features. It gives you a comprehensive view of your fleet, but at the same time, it gives you the ability to drill down and really, take a look at your assets. And I'm gonna give a high level kind of overview of it in a minute. And as one of the previous training sessions that actually I did, I went into a lot of detail on it. So you can always go back and view that session on the YouTube channel, as Sarah was mentioning earlier. The other thing I want to point out here too as well, if you go down to the bottom left of the page, we have some widgets that you can utilize to really kind of give yourself good exposure into how your fleet is being utilized. And those are the dormancy and utilization pieces. Now the system defaults to what you see here, which is for dormancy 0, 3, and 7, and for utilization it's 5 and 15. And the utilization is in hours, dormancy is in days. So the point here is, depending on, everyone knows their own fleet the best. And you can decide here that if you feel that your dormancy should either be, if you want to treat high dormancy at 10 days, you can adjust that, or if you think it should be 5 days. So you have the ability here to adjust that. And then, there's lots of other preferences you can set up here too involving your account, but just kind of wanted to highlight here, asset view is your landing page, and then the ability to adjust those widget settings as well. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and we're going to go to asset view. And as you can see here, initially you have a whole bunch of filters that you can pick. What we're going to do is just look at the installed assets, and then we're going to look at one of the groups that have been set up. And this is the SkyBits training site here as well. So this demo training group. You don't have to select, you can drill down on these others. If you notice the sensor column, there's a whole bunch of items listed here. This would depend on what products you subscribe from SkyBits, if they're available or not on your screen. Again, because this is a demo site, we have kind of everything listed here. But for our purposes today, what we're going to do is just go ahead and leave everything alone, and we're going to go ahead and submit now and just see what we have as assets in that are installed only in that group that we have set up. So, one of the great things here with asset view, once you make this selection, you get a nice map. So you have a nice visual of where all your assets are across the US. So in this case, you can also, any of those little clusters that you see with the circle, like near the Great Lakes, the 5, you can select that and drill down into those assets. Just like that. So you can kind of see where those assets are exactly and the status. And if you go to the bottom left, there's a map legend. And then that will, if you see that red balloon and you see the stripe across it and you wonder, well, what exactly does that mean? You can always reference that map legend. And in this case, these are units that have stopped, and basically they're empty. So they have a cargo sensor on them, and they're telling you they're empty. So we'll go ahead and just go back one here to the kind of the comprehensive map. And what you can do, once you've kind of have your visual, you see everything here. Of course, a lot of times folks like to look at I want to see my list of assets. So what you can do here is just select asset list at the top right here. And now you get a list on the, you get two views. You get your map, smaller map, but you also get your list of assets on your left. And this is going to be everything that's part of the group that was in our filter when we selected these. And what's really neat here is you have some this color coordination that matches up. So if you notice, we talked initially in that preferences screen about dormancy and utilization. So you see here the system will, based on that, what we've defined here is 7 days or higher. So these are assets that have been sitting idle for 7 days or more. They're color coded here with there's 8 total, but if you go and reference the map, anything that you see in red means this is an asset that falls in that 7 days or idle. So you can quickly look at this and say, well, where are my assets that are sitting at in the country? And you can see up in kind of the Northeast and Midwest corridors, but then you also see right near the Mexico border. There's one asset that's sitting there as well. So you can, certainly take advantage of how we've, structured this to give you, some good visuals. The other thing that's really neat with these widgets is if you can actually pick one. So if we want to pick that 7 or higher and just really see, well, which assets are those? You get your list right here. So, and then you also get the number of days dormant. So you can, and any of the fields or columns here, you can sort them. So if you wanted to pick the dormant days and make, organize it by, either highest to lowest, you can do that as well. So what this does is gives you a really quick way to, kind of drill down and see, because most people don't like to see assets that are sitting idle, and you can quickly identify those and then, take action as needed on those. So you can, that's, one thing you can do here. There's also right near the cursor, you'll see there's a download button. So if you wanted to get this list and share it with others on your team, you can download this. You can get an Excel spreadsheet, and the download information is actually, it provides more data, more columns than what you see here. So you have a whole lot of data that you can then share with others and do a more thorough investigation. So that's, just one way of utilizing this information. You can also, if you download all the complete asset list, you can actually kind of get the full view of your fleet as far as what percentage. And one of the things we do in business reviews is we like to look at how the fleet is doing, how you're doing across the fleet, like which percent, meaning, do I have 80% of my assets that have moved within the last 3 days, or is it what percent? So you can get a good, kind of take a pulse on how your fleet is performing as a whole as well. So those are all, these are things you can do within Asset View. You can do basically the same thing with the other widgets as you slide to the right here from Dormancy. You can do it with Utilization. You can do it with in this case, there's on the far right, there's a sensor, there's a door sensor, open or closed, you could check on as well. And again, this is just some test data we have, so your system will certainly, it's a good chance it looks different than this. But the idea is we do provide you with a lot of information. If you have cargo sensors, you can quickly kind of drill down and see which assets are empty or full as well. So that provides, what I wanted to share on Asset View. The other thing that's really crucial to setting up your account, and that we recommend that everyone spends time doing this when they first kind of get their hands dirty with Skybits, is setting up landmarks. And if we're just going to go ahead and look at one here. Yeah, so a landmark, and again, we've got lots of training here on the ins and outs of how to actually set up a landmark, but basically it's a geofence for a specific geographic area. And what customers use this for, the benefit is that you can establish landmarks for your customer locations. So you can track arrivals, departures of your trailers as they're going in and out of landmarks. You can track, we have a landmark average idle time report, so you can see productivity for a customer, for example. So if you have assets that you do a lot of business with a certain customer, you can see how quickly, are those assets sitting? Do you need to talk to the customer, about, well, it's unloaded. Hey, we got to get this trailer back on the road. So the landmarks gives you a wealth of information on, really better utilizing your assets. And the other key thing too is that we have a lot of different features that we've talked about in these sessions that where you need landmarks. So for example, if you want to track detention, you have to have landmarks set up. If you want to do yard checks, if you want to utilize trailer pools. So very important piece of insight is setting up landmarks, and we really recommend that you take the time and do that. We have two options. One is we do the circular landmarks that are based on a radius. They're less exact, but yet certainly better than nothing. And then we also have multi-point landmarks where you can be really precise with the location. So that covers landmarks. The other thing, and then another kind of topic I wanted to discuss as well is utilizing groups. So we have customers that with assets that vary from, you may have hundreds of our units, you may have thousands. So the challenge becomes, well, how do I kind of stay on top of these assets, and what's an easy way to filter and look at them? And what we recommend here is establishing groups. So you can set up a group and you can put a certain number of trailers in that group, and then you can really easily monitor them. So if we go to locate assets here, that tab at the top, and go to multiple assets, you can see here one of your selections for filtering if you want to view your assets is by group. So once you establish that group, it's very easy to then search and filter down on just those specific assets. So again, we really recommend utilizing the group feature to better kind of understand your assets and how they're set up. And that ties in very directly to setting up your users. So once you have your Skybits account and you want to set up more users within your company, basically we offer the option of setting up a standard user. So a standard user can see everything, but you can also limit your users by groups. So if you have a particular part of your business where they only care about a certain location, maybe it's a location out in California where the trailers are going back and forth, you can create a group for those, and then in turn have users that only have access to that group. And it's also, I've had experiences with working with customers where sometimes they have maybe even one trailer, but they want to give that, they're doing work for a particular customer, and they want to give that customer access to Insight, but only for that one trailer, and they'll set up a group and give the customer that view. So it works out perfectly. And then the last topic I wanted to talk about is for configuring assets. We have Insight, which you can use, and this, what I'm talking about here is when you have linking a Skybits serial number to an asset, either installing it, or sometimes, of course, you have to take it off an asset, you deinstall it. You can do all these things as you see the drop down here that Sarah has up on the screen in Insight. But we also want to encourage folks and make sure you're aware of our mobile app, because that's really perfect for the installers who are out in the field. They can use the mobile app and they can install assets using that tool. And a lot of customers have found that to be very beneficial and a good way of doing things. So with that, I think that's all I was going to cover today. I know we've got some other folks that are anxious to talk as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Jim. That was great. And that's a perfect segue. So we were talking last about configuring assets. Harry Singleton is going to now discuss his customers' best practices on inventory management. And I'm going to switch over to a PowerPoint. And Harry, take it away.
Very good. Good morning, everyone. Sarah, thank you. Again, my name is Harry Singleton. I've been with Skybits approaching 3 years. I've been in technology my entire career, been in CSM role in one form or another for easily 15. So while Jim had very much a project management background, my background is very much around operational and strategic support. I engage with clients, make sure that they're getting what they need on a daily basis, but there's also a direction in which the customers are going in, and we want to make sure that as a team we are delivering, because ultimately at the end of the day, if you are delivering on a daily basis and are achieving your long-term business goals, the value is fully realized in a solution. And that's very much what we strive to deliver here at Skybits. So in being part of this team, a question that I often get from customers is, when I look at my inventory, how do I identify it? How do I best manage it? How do I know what's going on with it? And the answer is, well, there are definitely some clues and very quick things you can know in your back pocket to understand what you're working with and what kind of devices in your inventory. So the typical 3 questions are, well, what are my product type? What, is it tethered? Is it solar? And what is becoming very timely is, what kind of network device is it? Is it 3G or 4G? So very simply, with the product type, the beginning of the serial number of the device indicates the product type that you're working with. Now, I gave some very common examples. Very often, GXT 3000 is a GXT1, while the GXT 5002C is a GXL7. So some customers do say, oh, wait a minute, it doesn't always match up, meaning a 3000 series doesn't start off with a GXT2. And my answer is, you're correct. But that is the plan, and that's the methodology behind it. Now, with the tethered versus solar, it is very straightforward. The first digit of the product type indicates the power source. So a GXT 3000 is a tethered device compared to a GXT 5002 is a solar. Again, as I touched on, the network type is becoming very, very key. There is the 3G sunset that is rapidly approaching in first quarter of next year. So we have plenty of clients who are constantly doing the necessary replacements, doing the upgrades. And a very common question is, when I look at my fleet of devices, how can I tell which network the devices are working on? And my answer is, that's very easy. You look at the last digit of the product type. So very simply put, if it ends in a 0, it's on a 3G network. If it ends on a 2, it's on a 4G. Again, you could say that's the difference between a GXT 5000, which is a 3G device, or a GXT 5002C, which is on a 4G. Now, some clients have said, wait a minute, you said if it ends in a 2, and that's why I stress it's the last digit. So the GXT 5002C is our solar device with a cargo sensor on the 4G network. So when you have these little tips and tricks in your back pocket, looking at your fleet, looking at your environment, seeing what devices you have deployed, you're now able to identify not only what the device is, but how it's being powered and what network it's being used on, which would then allow you to, if you need to focus in very quickly, well, these are my 3G devices. These should be my target for upgrade and replacement due to the upcoming sunset. Sarah, can we go to the next slide, please? So another common question is, I see devices that say they're uninstalled. What does that mean? And the term installed or uninstalled directly relates to whether there's an asset ID or not in Insight. Now, what's an asset ID? Well, the asset ID is the unique identifier that you, the customer, input into Insight to identify what our device is riding on. And what I mean by that is, commonly, customers will use a trailer ID to associate the device to. And that way we can know, okay, this this serial number is on this trailer, the marriage is known, and we move forward. But focusing on the uninstalled, that means we don't have visibility potentially into what device is attached to your customer's asset. So a very common question is, well, how do we find them? And the answer is very simple. There's two ways to try to find your uninstalled devices, or the devices that don't have an asset ID associated to them. First way is just going into the population summary. It's part of the dashboard, and you can very quickly see not only will Insight give you the total number of uninstalled devices, but will also show you of what is uninstalled, what's reported recently. So for me, and as a best practice, I would say look at both sets of numbers. Because if it's uninstalled, you should pay attention to them. You need to understand what's happening with those devices. And especially if they're uninstalled and reporting, that means they're moving. That means there's activity. That means there's something happening with them. So in a way of priority, definitely focus on the reporting devices and then tackle the remaining of the uninstalled. The best practice in this case is to have every single device identified in some way. So similar to getting the info from the population summary, you can also go into the asset view, and Jim just did a great walkthrough of that. You can see that one of the options from a dropdown in the asset view is installed. When you click that dropdown, you'll see installed, uninstalled, or all of them. So you'd be able to run a very simple filter from asset view to show me, for example, all the uninstalled devices. And again, just as Jim showed, they would appear first on the map, and then you'd be able to drill down into that asset listing and have a much more detailed view as to where those devices stood. From there, you'd be able to put a plan in place to get those devices identified, do the clerical update, and you'll have better visibility into your network as a whole. Sarah, could we go to the next slide, please? So again, very common question. How do you manage the devices that are not being used? Like I've said a few times now, you want to make sure that every device is identified in one way or another. With the identification, you have the knowledge of where it is, you know that it's in motion, or it's sitting at a certain location. It gives you that other visibility. So the recommendation or best practice in this case would be to develop some sort of a naming convention. And what I mean by that is come up with a way of identifying the asset itself. Now, you can use this for your fleet as a whole, and I'll begin with just, let's say, uninstalled devices or devices without an asset ID. So I have a few customers now that have adopted this naming convention methodology and has proven to be successful. And what I've learned from working with these customers is they'll leverage a combination of data points. And again, the whole objective is when you're looking at a listing, you'll know exactly where the asset is and what it's being used for. So looking at the examples on the screen, just to walk you through, one idea was to take the serial number of the device and include what's happening with it and where it's located. So for the first example, you can see that it's a stock item, it's seed stock. VA, it's located in Virginia. And the remaining unique identifier is the serial number. Please remember though, every asset ID needs to be unique in the system. So you can't rename them all, for example, seed stock. The system will update the first and the remainder will fail. And like identifying an item for seed stock, you can also, as you see below, you can identify it as RMA. You can identify it as an asset to be retired, or if it was lost or damaged. I have another client who, when they get a new shipment of devices that haven't even been physically installed on a trailer, they will, when the day the assets arrive at their location, will do an update in the system and they'll number them. So if we ship them 10 new devices, they will immediately identify them as, and I'll say Herndon as the location. Herndon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you ship your devices to multiple locations, you can still use that same methodology. If you ship them to Herndon, Virginia, you can name them Herndon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you ship them to Philadelphia, it could be Philly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Danbury, Connecticut, Danbury 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you'll know because you have the naming convention. I'd be able to quickly see, okay, this device is fairly new because it has the naming convention. We know that it's sitting at that location, let's say Herndon. So I know there's going to be some activity happening with it. The following two examples are just some other ideas where you can use a zip code as an example, a zip code, and then the state, Connecticut, and what the container or the trailer is being used for. In this case, storage. If it's part of a project, it could be a similar idea. We know it's in this zip code, it's in Connecticut, and it's being used with this customer. I've just used Skybits as an example. The naming convention just needs to be usable and workable to you. However you want to do it is up to you and what will work for your team. Again, at the end of the day, and I know I keep saying this, you want to be able to have a listing in front of you, very quickly identify where every single asset is. That allows you to become much more efficient, much more productive. You're able to even run reports against it because you're able to sort out or even take your listing and put it in alphabetical order and be able to identify what's moving, what's not, what's in seed stock, what's being RMA'd, what is potentially a new device. I have a client who even will update it. If it's a new build at Wabash, they'll do Wabash 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, followed by the build number. So they know that these 10 devices are at Wabash for an OEM build, and here's the build number. And this is even before the device is put on the new trailer and activated. Once it's activated, they can then go in and update the asset ID with the new trailer that was being built. And that way they know it's no longer standing ready to be used, but it's actually in use. So I strongly recommend considering it, thinking about it. It's proven to be very successful and very much a value add to other clients. Can we go to the next slide? Very common question is, great, I know where my devices are, I can identify them, they're solar, they're tethered, they're in seed stock, they're in motion. I know visibly what's going on and what's happening with them. Well, now I have some that I don't think are working quite right, or something's not jiving, or I have new devices and I need to install them. How do I do that? There are two places you can go. First place is the Resource Center. When you're in Insight, in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a little Resource Center button. You click on it, it takes you into the Resource Center. If you've never been, I strongly recommend going. The Resource Center has an incredible amount of information, and it's very easily accessible to anyone who can get access to Insight. You have training videos, you have the different webinars, and you have what we're showing on the screen now. It's the different installation guides and troubleshooting guides for our devices. The entire Skybits product line is represented in the Resource Center, not only the devices that are being used by you, the customer. So not uncommon that when a customer logs in for the first time, they'll scroll down this long list and go, wait a minute, I don't use all these. And the answer is you're correct. This gives you access to everything. As you see on your screen, you're able to download the different install guides, the troubleshooting guides. They are in a PDF format, so you can open them, download them, and share them as necessary. Next slide, please. Second place to go for installation and troubleshooting guides is the Help button. The Help button is on every page within Insight. I think very commonly it's in the lower right-hand corner, and you'll see it's that little question mark followed by the word Help. If you click on that, the How can we help you tiny window pops up. in the field, just type in installation. And as you see, installation and troubleshooting guides pops up. You're able to click on it and you're able to then access all that information. I know earlier Sarah was very passionately talking about the Skybits YouTube channel, and I completely agree. There's a wonderful set of data that's in there. You will find on the Skybits YouTube channel some video installation guides, for example, the 5002C. So while the documentation is great to have, you can also find a video around the installations. So if you have people or are going to be leveraging a resource to do installations, there's a lot of information that's readily available that can easily be shared to educate and make sure the job is done properly and efficiently. And can we go to the final slide? So another very common question is, the device is gone. I don't know where it is. It was taken, it was damaged, it was stolen, the trailer was in an accident and it was totaled. What do I do? And the answer is no problem. Very simply, email customer care. If you send an email to the customer care team and basically identify your company name, what happened, and the serial number and or the asset ID, we'll get that taken care of. What I mean by that is, in this scenario where a trailer was in an accident, total loss, you can send an email, hey, it's Harry from Harry Corp. My trailer was in an accident. The trailer and the device are gone. They're both totaled. We need it removed from our account. Customer care team will take the necessary steps. If necessary, we'll engage internal resources. We'll notify your client success manager, your sales team, whomever, and they'll initiate the necessary processes to move it forward. All in all, processes are very straightforward. Once you understand what you're working with, how it's powered, the network it's on, when you're looking at the asset ID, you'll see where everything sits, what's in use, what's being RMA'd, what's being set up for a new build. You'll be very surprised at how quickly you become a master of your environment. And that is very, very key here. Because for us as the client success team, if you're mastering your environment, you're getting the fullest value in the products and services we offer. And the value and seeing that value on a daily basis is very, very important to us. So at this point, definitely want to pass on the baton. I believe Ben is up. So Benjamin, the floor is yours, my friend.
Hi, I'm just going to interrupt. Thank you, Harry. I piggyback off of you're fine. Piggyback off of your presentation, which was fantastic. Really important topic. Inventory management. I don't think we talk about it enough with our broad base of customers, because if you don't know where a piece of hardware is that you received from Skybits, you're going to want to find it, identify it, what's going on with it, and Harry has masterfully shown us how to do that, and some excellent tips from his customers on how to, going forward, how to keep track of your uninstalled inventory. It's super important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into Insight, and Ben, our youngest team member, he'll be going last. He's going to review some other items. I'm going to talk today about, and my name is Sarah Deitch. I obviously am a customer success manager with Skybits. I have had the privilege of working with my customer base for 6 years. This has been a fantastic job. I've always been in some sort of customer interaction relationship building role. So it's what I love to do. And my colleagues, in particular, this group of gentlemen, including our manager, have truly shown me how to go beyond just being, the relationship builder and being a strategic partner for our customers. We manage very large customers, and we need to show them, hey, beyond, and that's where I'm segueing into my topic, how are my customers consuming the data, right? So Harry ended his section with, we want to make sure that you're consuming the data. And Jim's section kind of sets you up, right? We do have videos on how to create users, on how to create landmarks, on how to set up your preferences and groups, how to add users so they are only able to view certain assets. So there are, again, on the YouTube channel in the help section, which Ben's going to go into in a little bit more detail, there are plenty of videos on how to. Today, we kind of wanted to say, here's why, here's why. The data is the why, right? So some of my customers use an API, right? So they're getting data fed into their back office system, their TMS, homegrown, out of the box, whatever. That is an option. You need to speak to your sales representative about that, but we do then set up credentials for you to push or pull data. So we're able to do either, and then you can receive and consume data in that manner. Or like a lot of our customers do, you can come into Insight. Really, the origination of GPS, I've been in the GPS industry for quite some time, and where is it, right? That's what I want. I want to know where it is. So, when we're thinking about the dots on the map and the origination of GPS, how can I find my assets? There are so many ways in Insight that I could spend well past the hour on how do I find my assets. Simply locate asset section provides you with many ways to find singular or multiple assets, as Jim had showed us. You can also use the dashboard location distribution. We'll look at via state and even pull back further. So if you have assets in Canada or in Mexico and the United States, it'll drill down, it'll pull it back to US, Canada, Mexico. So easy ways to find your data. You can also type in up here in the quick search area. You can type in an asset ID. You can look by landmark. Another reason to set up landmarks, I can't stress landmarks enough. It really just sets you up for success. And if you do that heavy lifting up front, then you won't have to worry about it. Just maintain it as you go forward. But you can look via landmark. You can look via serial number. There are different options here. We keep 90 days of data in Insight. So you're able to see the history for the last 90 days. So I was just going to look at one asset in particular, just pull it up real quick, give me a history, last 90 days. And that's just a quick way you can do the dots on the map, right? So you're going to switch over to the older version, right? Jim went into the asset view, which is the newer version pretty much of this information. You have a map with little pinpoints on it that are representing each stop and each event, moving downward, you're able to see, the data, and it actually scrolls over as well. All this data is exportable. You can do what you will with the data. So beyond dots on the map, my biggest topic of, concern or hearing from my customers is idle time, right? When you're, simply put, when your trailer is sitting idle, you're losing money, right? That's the most simply put way to describe why we want to prevent idle time. But what we have to do really is to analyze what our fleet's history is as well. So if you're new to Skybits, if you've been with Skybits for a while, we have many different ways to look at idle time. We have current idle time reporting. We have idle history reporting. Idle history reporting can be done all assets in groups. Again, another reason to utilize the group functionality. If you just want to look at a certain, say trailers that go to Terminal A that are housed at Terminal A versus trailers that are housed in Terminal B, they're different groups. You can use asset IDs and mobile terminal serial numbers. That's what this MTSNS is. It's the serial number of the device. And you would specify a report period. So this will give you consumable data, the history of idle within either group, asset, you can, as you see here, you can search by many different criteria. And then you're able to then say, here are my trouble spots. Here are my winners too. We're always talking about the negative, but you will have some winners come up and, trailers that you're moving around and you're being successful and you're utilizing your fleet. Another huge advantage to utilizing GPS digital technology is a yard check. And it sounds so simple, right? You go out to the yard, you check how many trailers you have there. It's not like I'm looking at my driveway though. I have 2 cars in the driveway right now. I have 2,000 trailers out in my yard. You know, and historically, this has been a Herculean task for our customers, right? Pre-digital GPS monitoring, you're out there with a clipboard and a pencil, and we still have some customers who are out there with a clipboard and a pencil. It's not necessary. We have a yard check. You're able to save reporting on yard checks, and then you're able to then have them emailed. Terminal A, you have 10 assets in your yard. Terminal B, you have 12. It's going to give you this information at your fingertips daily, weekly, however you want to receive the report. You know, you can run it and then have it stop running. Say you're running a special project, you have some high value load that you need to be monitoring. So different reasons for yard check, but you have to set up landmarks in order to get the yard checks. As far as reporting with dashboards, in our Analyze Assets section, we have trends. So before I turn over to Ben so he can then go into our, you know, our help and our Skybits channel, I really want to make sure that everybody's aware that idle time is important to us because we know it's important to you. Curbing and managing idle time. So in the trend section, which is a section that we've reviewed on one of our Training Tuesdays, you're able to set up a dashboard. You have to call into customer care and ask for the feature to be set up. You can look at not only idle, but idle distribution, meaning you know, how it's distributed through my fleet. Details, you will be able to drill down to specific assets that you want to then monitor. We also have the ability to set up and manage trailer pools within our system. So if that is something that you use within your organization, a trailer pool setup, then we can certainly help you out with that. You just reach out to us and we'll, you know, we do videos on how to set it up, of course. We want to make sure that you're all prepared to use these features. And you can also monitor mileage as well. Based on tethered or solar devices, it's a little bit different, the outcome, how it's calculated, but if that's something you're interested in, you're able to do that as well. So the entire Analyze Assets section really gives you a look into your fleet historically, currently, and then you're able to monitor utilizing these dashboards, which are, you know, color coded, heat maps, we have summaries, we have scorecards, we have everything in here. So we want to make sure that you're using this. And then if you have questions, you can reach out to customer care, a customer success manager, just even your salesperson to get you into the right direction. So Analyze Assets is a big section that we need to, I think, review with customers and make sure that you understand, hey, here's where you look at your data. It's not just dots on the map. It goes well beyond that. So as far as the locate assets asset view, Jim had talked about this, and thank you, Jim, for doing such a fantastic job, not only on the training session that he had recorded, but really digging into the data here, dormancy, utilization. So that's another, you know, quick way to get information was via the locate assets asset view. You submit it after you've picked your filters. You know, you want to look at installed devices when you're talking about dormancy and utilization generally. And if you want to look in on a group, you of course narrow it down that way. But many, many different pieces of data are right here. And I just want to make sure Ben gets his time in. So what we're going to do is I'm going to stop showing my screen for one moment. And I am going to have Ben take over.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ben O. I'm one of the customer success managers out of our Herndon, Virginia office. I've been with Skybits for 5 years, and today I'm going to walk you through our helpful resources we have available to you. So let me just go ahead and share my screen. All right. So as you can see on my screen, you can see our Insight Skybits demo engineering demo page. On the bottom right, we have an abundant amount of helpful resources that will kind of let you learn at your own pace or gather any individual information that you need. So just going through here, just walking through, we have a lot of training videos, pre-recorded training videos available for you to look over at your own pace and kind of learn about our features and tools on our Insight page. We also have different webinars pre-recorded as well, highlighting different tools and features as well. So for example, all assets on maps, learning about virtual mileage and trailer pools. So like Harry and Sarah mentioned, we also have a resource center page located on the top right. It will look like this. It will show you similar to our help section, webinar videos, training videos, and like Harry mentioned, installation documents and troubleshooting documents located for our various products here that you can just search through. And moving over to our Skybits YouTube channel, we do have a Skybits YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe. We have a lot of pre-recorded training videos on here, and we have additional information to learn about our other verticals like tank monitoring and petroleum logistics. So just when you get the chance and when you have the time, just check out our YouTube channel for additional information and training. And I will hand it back over to Sarah.
Thank you, Ben. So we are out of time, and I did promise questions, but I don't see any. Let me just take a look and see if we have any hands raised. I don't think that we do. Don't see any. Nope. So on the screen right now, we're thanking you, of course, because we always like to thank you at the end of these sessions for attending, for giving us your attention, and for giving us your business. We value it. We feel we are truly in a partnership with our customers. That's why we thought these Training Tuesdays would be a fantastic idea to reach out. Make sure you all knew that we were thinking of you constantly, making sure that your customer experience is a fantastic one. And as far as the next session, we are looking at April 27th, 2 weeks out. I believe our discussion will be around the 3G sunset, which Harry did touch on. So you're a little bit prepared for the conversation and how to determine if you have 3G devices in your account. We do have some folks set up to come in and discuss planning and the strategy to get the 3G devices replaced. And again, thank you for attending the session today. If you do have questions, please feel free to reach out to customer care, or if you do have a customer success manager, Harry, Ben, Jim, and myself, and our manager, Ira Stern, all thank you very much for your business. We appreciate it. Have a great day.